All right, so far this morning, right, we have done our basic navigation. We talked about moving content from Moodle, moving content between Brightspace courses. So now we're really going to take a look at the courses themselves and the types of things that you can do in your courses and kind of the key things that you should do at the start of the semester. All right. Here we are. So once again, you can go to your courses from the course widget at the top, our little waffle icon, or you can go in down here at the bottom in the My Courses widget on the home page. So here, let's go. I don't think my new course has anything in it yet. Could be wrong though. I could have demoed stuff there. Oh no. Perfect. All right. So when you get to your page for the very first time, one of the things that you'll want to do is update your course faculty area. Now, this does not copy over with courses at this point, unfortunately. And while it is in the Brightspace product idea exchange, the pie, to have it populate based off your profile, it doesn't do that yet. So you'll have to update it yourself. One of the ways that you do that is you click this little 3 dots icon, and then you can click edit, and you can change all of these items. You'll notice here it has a character count, so it can be 18 out of 32. I know I have one person that changed it to professor profile instead of instructor profile. You can type your name however, you know, however you'd like your name to show up, or what you want the students to call you. My high school days, I still like to go by Mrs. Fisney. So that's there. You can also upload a picture of yourself. The trick for a picture is that it has to be a landscape picture. If it is a portrait picture, it will come in sideways. So it has to be a landscape wider than it is taller picture. That is a tip because we've had several things like that come up. I don't know where a picture is of me right now, so we will borrow Alice's. But when you upload the picture, you can see there's the option to zoom in and out if you need to. You can just click and drag it around. So if it's like off center and you're like, that's not working, you can slide it on over. Your About Me section. So I put like a silly tagline there like kids use on social media. Nonsense. And then down here, you know, it's short. You only have 240 characters. So if you wanted to like do like a real introduction of yourself, you could do that in a forum. Whereas here, you could just kind of highlight a couple of the things about you. Numbers. So type whatever you want. And then down here, there's a link for a Facebook and a Twitter. So if you don't have a Facebook or a Twitter account that you use personally, you can just delete them. And then those icons won't show up on the page. Another option that you have is to link to like our Marywood Facebook page. Or if you have a department Facebook page or a department Twitter, you could link to those if you don't have personal ones. But when you're done, just make sure to hit save. And then you'll see it updated there. Any questions on your faculty profile? All right. One of the other things that you'll want to do at the start of every semester is, of course, upload your syllabus. So we have this course content at a glance widget here. This widget is going to populate based on what you put on the content page. So it's really just a quick way for the students to get different content items. So you're never actually going to edit anything here. So if I go to my old course, just so you can see one that has all the things. Oh, did I open the same course? Always helpful. This one. All right, so you can see it will open based on what I have on the content page. So I can't edit anything here. You can't edit anything here. It's just what's on your content page. So these will be all of your modules. And when you click on one, you can kind of dive into what's in the module and open things without going to the content page itself. So that's more just a navigation tool for the students. If you need to get back to your course homepage, you'll always click your title at the top. So the logo takes us to the Brightspace homepage, and the course title will take you to your course homepage. So let's go back to our plain one. All right. And we have our announcements here. Now, one of the things that you can choose to do in your course page is that for these announcements, you could choose to have it be an activity feed instead of an announcement. So if you've been in the Brightspace Basics for Instructors course, we kind of have a demo of what that looks like. But for you to choose, if you scroll down to the bottom of your page, you have this homepage actions menu. So you'll click on the link and go to Manage Homepages. And then there'll be several ones here. So, and it kind of describes what they are. So you can have an activity feed, or you can have an announcement page. So if we were to choose the activity feed, we'll go to our list here, choose activity feed, and click Apply. Now when I go to my course homepage, oh, did I name them wrong? Defaults. Let's see. I'll have to double check those, but this is how you would do it. So this one does have the welcome, but all right. Anyways, this will change to the activity feed when you do that. I will have to go in and double check those settings again. But once again, if you have not been in the Brightspace Basics for Instructors course, I will show it real quick so you can see the activity feed. Right, so the activity feed allows for a little bit more interactive experience because students can comment on something. So if you were to make a post here, they can comment on it, or you can also kind of create an assignment right from here if you had like a quick assignment that you just wanted students to post on. You can choose that option instead of traditional announcements. We don't recommend having both because they basically do the same part with this informational piece at the top. So it's up to you if you just want it to be a one-way communication, kind of like Moodle's was, where you posted an announcement for the students to see, or if you want to add that two-way piece where students can post comments or questions to your announcement. Any questions so far? I'm going to remember to change my picture before the fall. All right, so when you're ready to start building your content, we'll go to the content page. If you imported things from Moodle, they'll all be listed here. Even if you did import things from Moodle, one of the things that we're asking folks to do is use one module as your syllabus module, and for everybody to upload the syllabus in that one space. Just to kind of create consistency for the students, so that way the students always know where to get it. And then if we were to go back to that home page, you'll notice the first thing, hold on, let me click through, just missed this. One of the first things that would come up would always be the syllabus. So it would always be easy for the students to find and locate. So that's something that we're asking everybody to do. One of the other things that we're asking you to do is to not use this overview tab moving forward. Eventually, this area of Brightspace, the content area, is getting an update. They said it's like a year to 2 years out, and it's getting a different visual look. But this overview tab won't transfer over to the new look. So if you just avoid using it now, it's fine, or it will help prepare you for that. And if you go to actually the student view As long as nothing is there, the overview tab doesn't show for students anyways. As long as you don't put anything in it. So it's not like the students are like, why isn't anything there? They won't see it at all. So that's why we're recommending that you add a module called syllabus and put your syllabus in there. So that way every student logs into Brightspace and can easily identify it, or it's in the same place for everyone. If you already have stuff in your course, like you copied things over from Moodle or you're working in a sandbox, you'll notice when you add a module that they just show up at the bottom. So you would have had all of your weeks from Moodle imported, and when you add the syllabus module, it will show up at the bottom. As you just saw, these little tabs allow you to reorganize the items. So you're like, all right, I'm going to put the syllabus at the top, so that way the students can always find it. It's just clicking and dragging. You'll also notice that there's an option for submodules. So as a reminder here, these are equivalent to Moodle weeks or Moodle topics on your Moodle page. But then you also have the option to do a submodule, or essentially a folder within a folder. So maybe you want to do, you know, weeks 1 to 4 or 1 to 5 together, because you're talking about the same topic during those 5 weeks. And then you could put, well, if I do it right, if you hold it over and it's blue, you can put all of your other weeks inside of those 1 to 5 weeks. Oh, now I did too many. But you'll notice it's all click and drag, easy drop. So if you make a mistake, you can just move it again. And then there's also that option here to add a submodule. So if I needed to add my other weeks, 3, week 4, and week 5, because I said this one was going to be weeks 1 to 5. So you can kind of use those submodules to group your content however you like. Since we are going to be in person in the fall, you might not even want to do weeks. You might do it by topics or by books. So maybe like Erin, I'm thinking if you have a book, you might have the book topic. And then within that, your submodules could be like, these are the assignments for the book. Here's the readings for the book. So whatever works for you, but you have a lot of freedom in how you choose to organize your online presence because of the module and submodule overview. If we go back to the home page, so you can see how it looks in that course content at a glance item, you'll see I just have syllabus and weeks 1 to 5. So now if I click on weeks 1 to 5, I can see all of those other submodules in there. And then if I were to click on week 1, here would be everything I need to do for week 1. Are there any questions on that so far? All right. Next up.
Really? He's just so determined.
Yes, he just wants to be here.
That's it. He wants to love.
So the next item we're going to talk about is these course announcements. So when you don't have any announcements to make, you'll see this create announcement button. If you already have an announcement up, you'll click on this context menu. So as Riley mentioned, hold on, I clicked too far. But so a lot of things in Brightspace have these context menus. So if you're like, I want to do something with this, but I don't know what, you'll click on the context menu and it will give you options for that item. So if you already have an announcement made and you're like, I want to make a new announcement, you can go right to new announcement from here. You'll also see the option for the announcement tool in general. And so it looks the same, except it's just bigger. And we have some more options up here. So when you do a new announcement, right, welcome to class. Down here, you'll see we have all of those typical buttons that Riley mentioned. It's a little bit updated. So we don't have any of the buttons down at the bottom anymore, but they all are up here. If you don't see a button that you're looking for, you can click these 3 little dots and it opens up a second row of buttons. And then if you're like, I don't like writing in a tiny screen, we also have this expand button. So you can see the text box full screen and big with all of the options. All right. So once again, up here, you'll see we have the button that we didn't have on the home page, which is our insert stuff button. So it's got this little play icon, and you can insert all of these different things into wherever you can type. So you can insert files or pictures. The learning repositories are still kind of an up and coming item. I know Amanda Avery has talked about them from core or from the library perspective, and kind of making library resources that you can go in and access. So the learning repository, you can search for different things if they have it. So right now there's a category there, but so instructors essentials, something that I made so people can pick it. Site survey. Oh, here's one from the library. So like you can look at resources that the library may have published, core faculty readings, things published to the OER, and they are tagged by keyword. So you could publish something to the OER and say, all right, I'm going to make it for English, and you can tag it. So you can see library resources, you can see who published it. And then there's two different options you have when picking from the LOR, which is a dynamic link. So if the owner of this were to update it, you'll automatically have the updated version, or you can click on it and have the stagnant version. So depending on what it is, you may or may not want to have an updated, consistently updated version, or you may want to have this version specifically. But you can click on it. It'll give you a little overview if you wanted to change the link text you wanted, but it'll put a link to that resource. So as the library adds things, those are there. And there is the option for us to do them by department and by college or different things like that. One of the other things from insert stuff here is add video note. So there's not audio notes here. Like if you wanted to do it podcast style in this spot, there's only video notes. But you'll see the video comes up. It gives you the time frame out of 30 minutes. If you record it elsewhere or use a different tool, you can upload that file. If you do new recording, here it is. It's counting up, yada, yada, when you hit stop. You can record it, preview it if you want. Who wants to do that? Not me, ever. But you'll see it there. And then when you're ready, you can hit next. It does take a second. So the nice thing about these video notes is that they are searchable and reusable. So if you talk about a certain topic, or if you have different sections or something that you wanted to share multiple places, you can do that. It also, you know, when you guys are doing your FARs and rank and tenure, if it's searchable, you can kind of use it and say, here's an example if you needed to. So you can name it like your intro, whatever it is. You can give it a description. You can also do the audio language, so it will automatically generate captions, which helps us with our accessibility. But auto captions are not always ADA compliant, because that's dependent upon the person who's using them, if that counts, if that is enough for them, but as they start in the right direction. So you can do that. Click next. It takes a second to process it and preview it. I usually never wait for it. I just hit insert. It'll come up with a box and later transform to the picture. But so when you're done, if you need to, you can go back out a full screen. And then down here, you'll see always show start date. So we have start date, end date, etc. So the start date, this is helpful because if you wanted to schedule in advance. So like if you know you have something coming up and you want to send out an announcement or a reminder about it, you can do that. I know for teaching online, I send them weekly. So I actually make all of mine in advance and just have them auto show up on those days, because during the semester is always there's also a remove announcement date. So you may or may not have a use for that, but remember, if you remove it, the student cannot see it after that. So maybe if you were doing a bonus thing or something like that, you may want it, but you don't need it. Down here, we have add a file. Once again, there's the option to record video here. But if you did want to do the podcast, that's down here in the record audio. And once again, looks the same. If you record audio elsewhere, you can upload the file. You can do your new recording here, You can get your preview of what it would be again, and then you can click add. And once again, you can title these, add a description if needed. If you can't see everything, you can always use these little corner arrows to expand boxes. Change the audio, language, and captions. The captions, if you also have a student who's ESL in your class, it may be beneficial to generate captions in like Spanish. I haven't tried it yet. I just thought about it. But, something to consider. And then you can click add.
Is that either or, Kat? Like, can you pick multiple languages? That they select?
Just one language. So depending on what the needs of your students are, might be beneficial. And then there's also additional release conditions, and that shows up on lots of things. So you can also do that for content pieces. But here you might have an announcement that you're just going to send out to students in a certain group. Like you might want to reach out to a certain group of students. So you can do create and attach, and you can do them based on all different things. So you do have the option to set up awards in your course. So maybe you put an announcement for just the students who earned the award if you had awards in your course. And awards is the Brightspace term for badges and certificates. So if you did the Brightspace Basic, you got your certificate, it is a course award. Maybe for a checklist. So maybe you have a checklist set up in your course and they didn't complete the checklist yet. So maybe you're making an announcement that just says, reminder, you need to complete this checklist. I don't have a lot in here, but you can do it based on all types of things. So down here's the group enrollment. So maybe you say, this is just for students in this group. If you have cross-listed courses, the students from the cross-listed courses are actually in different sections. So they all show up in your course, but they are in different sections. So every course has a section with it. So mine's not cross-listed, so I only have this course. But if you were a cross-listed course, you would have multiple sections listed here. So there's that. Maybe there's a really important piece of content in your course and you wanted everybody to look at it. So you could say they didn't visit this content topic. So then you could go and say, you didn't look at week 1 yet, and it's super important. So it makes you pick something specific, not just a module. So that's why it's giving me an error, because I didn't have any actual content pieces. I just have module and submodule names. But maybe they didn't look at the syllabus yet. So you could say like, hey, don't forget to check out the syllabus. And that announcement would just go to those people. So there's cool ways that you can use the release conditions to target your students. We do have the option here to save as a draft, which we haven't had before. So if you start working on it and something comes up, you can just save as a draft. You'll see over here you have a status that is a draft, and it will be here. So later you come back and you're like, all right, now I'm ready to actually publish that draft. You do have to go to the announcements tool, and then you can publish from here. Is there a publish option here? No. So you'll have to go to edit and then actually click on the publish button or schedule, because I did a future date. So if it's today's date, it will say publish. If it's a future date, it'll say schedule. And voila. Scheduled. Woohoo. All right. I do want to, so we already talked about emailing the class list. I'm going to show it again here quick, because you do have the option to also email by group if you are using groups. So right here it says email class list, but I do want to show you that you can also view by sections and by groups when you have groups. So that filter is here. So you have to click on it and click apply, and then it'll give you your extra items. So once again, if you have cross-listed sections, the 2 different sections are actually in different sections here. So you can email a section, like if you have an honors section with a couple kids in it and you wanted to give them like an extra project or something, you could do it, reach out to them through this. Or, you know, if you have groups, you can do it by groups here when that's an option.
Kat, that strikes me that when we have when we're starting the new core with the new pathway courses, you might have a course that fits in two pathways, and that would be a really handy thing to set up. I don't know if they have any plans to make that an official thing. I mean, at worst, I think you could do it as a group and just set it up yourself. But if maybe that's something that they want to work on, is making sure that that's another option, just sorting it instead of by sections, but by pathway, because they will register for the different pathways. So it might be, they will be marked on your roster that way. So that might also be a way of just differentiating them.
I'll have to see. I'm not sure if Brightspace personalizable enough to know that information coming in.
Sure. But if they do wind up, I think they're still working it out, but if they do wind up actually registering for the different pathways, then it would almost be the equivalent of a section, I would think. So,
yes.
Maybe anyway, but that strikes me as a potentially very useful thing, because you've got to have them doing different reflections and sometimes different assignments.
Yeah. And you can use that criterion tool like on the assignments itself. So like the students don't even have to see the ones that aren't related to them, because you can say this is only for this group.
That'd be great. That would be brilliant.
For this group. And I'll even promo that the criterion, once you've used it, you can, here, if we go back. Oh, not email class list. But you have the opportunity to reuse. So like when we were in this announcement tool, if we scroll down, after I actually load and scroll down, you'll see there's attach existing or create and attach. So if you've already made one, so like if you already made one, it will show up here and you can just click on it. So you don't have to recreate it every time, which is also super helpful. All right. Let's see. Here, I'm going to edit this one and make the date now. I think we've talked about this before, but set to today. Just so that way we can see it on the home page. So now you'll see my status is published. And if I go to the home page, we'll see the announcement there. And then you'll see there's always this link to show all announcements. So if they're not all listed here, but once again, there's this dismiss button. So like if you don't need to see your own announcement, if you're like, all right, we're already past this one, you can dismiss it. The problem, if you don't dismiss it, you end up with a big long list. So, and if you dismissed it accidentally, you can go back to announcements and it says dismissed. You can click restore and it will show back up in the list. If I make another one real quick, just so nonsense, and we publish it. So you'll see they just pile down. They just keep going down the list. So you'll want to dismiss the other ones because all of your other stuff moves down as that list gets longer and longer. So you'll want to dismiss it and tell your students that they can dismiss old ones as well, like or after they've read it. And we do have that covered in our Brightspace student training.